Hey everybody, hope y'all are having a great day. Today I'm going to do a 6-month update on the Tundra. Driving down the road in it right now, and I'm also going to do a why I got rid of my F150 for a Tundra. I did a 3-month ownership and kind of compared the two, and had a lot of responses on that, and a lot of people had some real negative things to say about the Tundra. And I want to clear up exactly why I traded the Ford and the issues the Ford had. I had people saying, you know, the Fords won't get you hurt and stuff like that. So maybe when I explain what mine was doing, you'll understand why I got rid of it. So first of all, the 6-month ownership of the Tundra. I love this truck more today than I did when I did the 3-month ownership. I've took a couple of long trips in this truck. I went to Miami in it and back. That was 14 hours one way. Drove straight down, and then drove straight back. You know, I stayed obviously a week in between, but I actually made the whole trip down and didn't stop and stay anywhere. So I rode in the truck, you know, pretty much for 14 hours. Then I also just got back from Myrtle Beach last week, and that's 6 hours one way. So I have made a couple of long trips in this truck, or fairly long trips. The 14-hour one was a pretty long trip. And you know, you can't drive 14 hours without your hind end getting sore. It's inevitable. It's going to happen. But I do have to say that this is the most comfortable vehicle I've ever owned. And like I said in the other vehicle, I have owned 36 vehicles, so I have a lot to compare this to. But it is the most comfortable vehicle I've ever rode in. And I've rode in Range Rovers and a lot of other things. Of course, they were older model Range Rovers. They were in good shape. I've not rode in a new one, so I can't say, you know, a 2018 would ride, you know, worse than this. But for what I've got to compare it to, and I have had several new vehicles in there, this is the most comfortable vehicle I've ever owned. Everything is still working good on the truck. I still love the Borla exhaust. I really like the S&B intake. I did lose my intake cover. You're supposed to put those covers on whenever you reach 75 degrees. And I guess I threw that away by accident at the car wash, so I had to order another one. It's supposed to be here tomorrow, so I'll probably do an install of that little plug probably tomorrow or the next day, so hopefully that comes in. So other than that, you know, the truck is still doing great. I've had zero issues with it. The only thing I've done to it is rotate the tires and change the oil. I'm up to about almost 24,000 miles now. I have so many miles on it because my Xterra that I drive daily, I took it to a guy to have the head gaskets changed, and that does not run anymore, and I had to buy a new engine for it. So the engine is getting put in right now, so when that gets back, I'll be driving this a little less than I do now. But you know, I've been doing this daily driving for probably 2.5 months, and you know, it's been a great vehicle. Now everybody talks about the gas mileage. On my trip to Miami and Myrtle Beach, I usually average somewhere around 14 miles to the gallon. Now that's not great, but I will tell you my EcoBoost only got 17 miles to the gallon on the interstate. This does have 35, 12, 50, 20 tires, and they're heavy tires. My Ford had like 34-inch tires, but they were nowhere near as wide. So, you know, I feel like if I had the same size tire on this that I had on the Ford, I'd probably pick up another half mile to the gallon to a mile to the gallon on the interstate. So there's really not that big a difference between this and the EcoBoost. The EcoBoost don't quite get the gas mileage that a lot of people think they do. Other than that, you know, I pretty much covered everything else in the other video about the truck, about the features on the truck and stuff like that. Nothing's changed. I've not really updated anything or upgraded anything on the truck since the last video. And if I did, I've made a video about it, so you can go back and check that out if you'd like to see any upgrades or anything I did. I've got how to put the Bushwhacker fender flares on and stuff like that. So if you want to see any of those videos, it's back in my channel. So now let's get on with why I traded the F-150. All right, the first F-150 I had was a 5.0, and it was brand new, and it was a 2011. The thing was in the shop like 12 or 13 times in like the first year and a half I had it for electrical issues. There was always a light coming on in the dash, whether it was, you know, I don't know, an airbag light or a anti-lock brake light. There was always some kind of light coming on, and they just never could seem to get that fixed. So I went in there raising a little bit of Cain because my warranty was fixing to run out, and I didn't want to have to start paying for all those fixes because I felt like that truck was a little bit of a lemon. They either made that truck on a Monday or a Friday, and it wasn't a very good vehicle because I had all kinds of electrical issues with it. Now, that being said, it never left me stranded anywhere, so that's a good thing. But I did have it in the shop a lot. They had it quite a bit in there. So that's why I got rid of that. So I went in there raising a little bit of Cain about the issues I was having and stuff like that. So they said, hey, we have a demo out here. It was the finance manager's truck, and it had 8,000 or 9,000 miles on it. It didn't hardly have any miles on it. It was fully loaded, EcoBoost, FX4. The sticker was still in the door. I seen it. It was a $60,000 truck. So to get me to shut up and to appease me a little bit, they let me have that truck out the door for $38,000 with a 100,000 mile warranty on it. Who don't take that? I was like, well, I got a lemon on the first one, just bad luck for me. The guy said he never had any issues with it. He drove it almost 9,000 miles. So I was like, okay, let's do this. That truck had a ton of power. Fell in love with it as soon as I drove it. Didn't have much problem with it the first year. I went to Nashville for a concert and then started back home about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. I was coming through Knoxville. And it was really humid, really foggy, and it has to be in these conditions. If you say you've got an EcoBoost and you don't have this problem, you may not have been in these conditions. You have to be driving in these conditions, hot, humid, rainy, for like 3 to 4 hours, constant driving, which I do this a lot because I go to Florida a lot on vacation. I go 3 or 4 times a year to Florida, and I'm in hot, humid conditions a lot. So that's probably why I've seen this so much. But coming back from Nashville the first time, I hit passing gear and was going to pass a tractor and trailer in Knoxville. I was running about 70, 75 mile an hour. The truck just nosedived. I mean, it just started missing, nosedived down. I dropped from 70 to about 30, 35 at the blink of your eye. I mean, literally, it just almost locked up. Now, luckily, it was about 4 o'clock in the morning, and nothing was behind me. So I let off the gas. It seemed to ease up a little bit. Check engine light was flashing. It was, it was lit up. So I let off of it, eased back into it, brought it on home. These are cases, they're documented on the internet, not just mine. There's other people that have the same issue. My buddy at work's having this issue right now. So I took it to the Ford place. They said, well, here's what the problem is. The intercoolers on the EcoBoost, now mine was a 2013. The intercoolers on the EcoBoost run too efficiently, and it causes them to condensate. When you hit passing gear, that condensation in the bottom of the intercooler gets sucked up into the engine and throws it into limp mode. These are documented cases. There are several people that's had this happen, and my buddy has a 13 right now at work with 50,000 miles on it, and his is doing the same identical thing. Now mine had about 28,000 miles on it, 26,000, somewhere through there, the first time it happened. Ford glued a big piece of metal or plastic or something across the bottom of my intercooler, probably about 8 inches tall, and all the way across the front of the intercooler. Now what they said that did was cause the intercooler to run hotter, and that would stop the condensation. Now I get that. I don't like that, but I understood it. If something runs hotter, it will evaporate the condensation, supposedly. So I thought it was a Band-Aid, but I went with it. Picked the truck up, another year or so went by, wasn't really in those same conditions. Give it a year forward, I go to Florida. Coming back from Florida, it was during Hurricane Irma, actually. I had to evacuate Florida for Hurricane Irma. It was just pouring down the rain. It was 90-some degrees. It was hot. I go out to pass somebody. The truck nosedives again with Ford's fix on it. So I was like, oh crap. I look back, people's trying to get stopped, trying to slide, because when this happens, you don't have any brake lights. That's where the dangerous parts come in. You can get hurt in those vehicles. I almost did. They were sliding to a stop. Everybody was locking it up. So I let off of it real quick and eased back into it and picked it back up. If you ease back into it, it does not suck that water up into the engine. So now this is what Ford told me. I'm going strictly by what my dealership told me. That's what they said caused this. I stopped at a Chick-fil-A, let the truck sit there for a little while to try to let the condensation, kind of die down. Pulled out Chick-fil-A, went to pass somebody to get back on the interstate. I wasn't on the interstate the second time this happened. Well, actually, it's the third time. It did again. Nosedived, started chugging, did everything but die. I was giving it feather in the gas, trying to keep it running. It did everything but die, and then it just picked back up. If you don't, like I said, if you don't floor it and just ease back into it, you'll get your speed back, and you can run 80 mile an hour, 100 mile an hour after that. As long as you don't hit passing gear, I never had any issues. But as soon as you hit passing gear, it sucks that water up into the engine, throws it in limp mode. So, I got in front of the guy, got over, got stopped. Luckily, the light was red at the red light I was pulling up to. I eased back on the interstate. I was in Georgia at this time. Eased back on the interstate, came on home, never hit passing gear again, all the way till I got to Saluda Mountain in North Carolina. It had quit raining by then, and the intercooler had dried out, and I come on up Saluda Mountain with no problem. I took it back to the Ford place. Ford looked it over, kept it for a week. They said, we see where it misfired, we know what it did, but we don't have a fix for it. We called Ford, we called their technicians. You have the only fix out for this truck, and it didn't work. I said, that's unacceptable. My family's life is in this truck, and when it goes into limp mode at 80 mile an hour on the interstate, that's unacceptable. I mean, there's 3 people in the car, counting me, that I really care about, and it's just locking down and nobody has any warning. So I picked the truck up after a week and brought it home, and they did nothing to it other than just check it and tell me that they seen where it misfired and it went into limp mode, but there was no other fix that they could do for it. So I called Ford as a corporate. Talked to one lady, she told me the same thing, nothing there's to do. I just had to deal with it, more or less. So I got mad and called back the next day. The more I thought about it, the madder I got. Called back the next day. Got another lady, asked to speak to a manager. She said, what can I help you with? She was not the manager. I said, I want to speak to a manager. She would not let me speak to a manager. So I let her know what I thought. By the end of this conversation, that lady was actually crying. I didn't want to make that lady cry. I wanted to talk to somebody in charge. She insisted I talk to her, so I did. I hate I did that. I'm sorry, miss, if you're watching this, but I was pretty upset that you all totally had disregard to my family's safety. And they said, we'll take down your information, we'll put it in a database, and, we may have a recall one day, we'll let you know. I said, do the new trucks do this? Do the new trucks' intercoolers condensate? She said, well, if you want a new intercooler, I can't say if they do or not, but if you want a new one, you'll have to pay for that out of your pocket. And I said, what? So my truck has a safety feature that is faulty, and the truck's going into limp mode on the interstate, and you're not going to fix it? She said, no, we only cover OEM equipment. So we can put you an OEM intercooler back on it, the same one you've got, but we can't put you a new intercooler on it. And at that point right there, I told her, I said, I won't have this truck much longer, and I will be buying a Toyota Tundra. So for all the Ford people out there that want to dog me out and tell me how good Fords are, no, they are not. I had 2 of them. One was 11 and one was a 13. They were both brand new, and they were both in the shop a ton. My Tundra hasn't been in the shop yet. I put, almost as many miles. I have put more miles on this Tundra than I did my first one before it had to go in the shop the first time. It was just scary what that truck did on the interstate, and I was not willing to risk my family's life. I went and traded that truck about 2 days later for this Tundra, and I've never looked back. I will never own another F-150 the rest of my life if I can help it. There may be a time where I have to drive an F-150. I don't know when that would be, but I'm not going to say I'll never drive another one again. If it's that or walk, I'll just won't hit passing gear, I guess. But as long as I can afford a different vehicle, I will buy a different vehicle. That's my story with the F-150s. I've never told that before actually on a video. You know, when they told me there was nothing they could do and they wouldn't give me a new intercooler, like I said before, that is blatant disregard to mine and my family's safety. That showed me that Ford did not care about me. I'd bought 2 brand new trucks from them, and my safety was nothing to them. So I will never buy another Ford. If you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.